Hi. If you're coming back for another helping, I don't know why. It's just my own little thing, but I'm starting to see some interesting patterns develop, even in the few answers that I've given to some ostensibly Muslim scholars or people or kids. I see a lot of ad hominem attack. A lot of ad hominem, usually against the Apostle Paul. They accuse the Apostle Paul of doing the exact same thing that he refutes in the book of Hebrews, that is, quoting the law and then saying that not one jot or tittle will pass away. Quoting Jesus, of course, and Jesus was right. Jesus also said that you can go too far in this. I mean, he is the one that accused the Pharisees of doing this, and he did so over and over and over again. Jesus' basis for the completion, the trueness of the law, is simply this: love your neighbor. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, body, soul, and strength. That means do your best as you can in that circumstance. And love your neighbor as yourself. If you love your neighbor, will you lie, cheat, and steal that, would you lie and cheat that person for personal gain? Would you do that to yourself? No, you wouldn't do that to yourself, would you? Very common sense. That law remains the law because God wants us to remember. There were some ugly things happen back then. I'm not going to deny it. The time of the Old Testament was a horrible, violent time, and people did what they did for personal gain, to maintain their own faith systems, whatever the case may be, and it's horrible. But God wanted me to know the truth. He wanted me to know the truth. This is justice. It's not pretty. I love you. Here's the truth. Here's what happens. Still make up your mind. Make up your own mind. This is indeed, God gives us a choice. We have a choice to enter into relationship with Him through the cross of Christ, through the atonement for our sin nature. Remember who started this whole thing. It was us. We started it. God simply once in a while, and He will reach that point, and He says, look, you've had chance after chance after chance. Boom. Stop it. This is enough. Let's get rid of everybody and try it again. And it's interesting that God would rather take the blame upon Himself than blame us. That is what a loving father would do. He'd say, no, it was my fault. I raised them. Blame me. That's the sense that I get based on the teachings of Jesus as communicated in the Injil. Now, the rest of the New Testament is Paul explaining what the grace of God means and what it truly is to us as Christians, as followers of the New Testament gospel. That's why it's called gospel, good news. We don't have to live under this oppressive law. We don't have to, do the best we can in hopes that we'll be okay, that all of our sacrifices would be in order and everything would be all right. God put that law in there for a reason, and that reason was simply to point out the extent of our sin to ourselves. We don't want to think that we're to blame for anything. That's human nature. God innately understood it. So there it is. That's a Christian's explanation. I'll take Jesus' law. I will love the Lord my God with all my heart, soul, body, mind, spirit, good heavens, everything that I've got, and I will love my neighbor as I love myself. Let's talk again about another tactic that's used by our Muslim friends, other than throwing Old Testament verses out at us and categorizing it. Well, that's exactly what they do. They categorize these individual verses, these individual items, without understanding the full historical context. My attempts to understand the Quran are based on those attempts to understand the historical context of the Quran. The Quran is no help whatsoever. It doesn't tell me anything about the history. It doesn't tell me anything about the contemporary, what is happening right then and there. I have no idea. I have no idea, none. So I have to go to the Hadith, and then I have to go to the Sunnah, and then I have to go to the Sirah, or the Tafsir, all of these other different works to understand this one work. Why did God not say that to Muhammad to begin with? It's all in the Bible. You know, God didn't pull any punches in the Old Testament. He gave us the truth out of love. If you love somebody, are you going to lie to them? Are you going to deliberately deceive them? But wait, no. Muhammad teaches that it's okay to lie in times of war against your enemy, and to bring a wife and her husband back together again. It boggles the mind. It truly does. Thirdly, there is this spewing of unfounded assertions. I had somebody refer to a royal plural in the Hebrew language. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. That's just wrong. The fourth word of the Arabic Bible is Allah, because Allah is the Arabic word for God. In the beginning, God made. That word in Hebrew, which is it's the Semitic language in which all of this was written, in which the entire Old Testament, or in which the Old Testament was largely written, and is the native language of the book of Genesis, is Hebrew. Hebrew does not have a royal plural. Elohim is that fourth word in the Bible. It is a plural. It is a plural noun. It is a compound plural noun. No royal plural at all. So basically, that's what I've seen so far as tactics. I have yet to have one Muslim acknowledge those verses in the Quran. One. They would rather deflect and not address it. I just got finished addressing what you throw at me in the Old Testament. I can't do it in 500 words, but I wanted you to hear my voice, see what I was saying, and hopefully gauge my sincerity here. Nasser Muhammad, or Muhammad, whatever your name is, you're just a guy that honestly, I see you as a young man who likes to rile other people up. Use inflammatory, all that you like. It doesn't help. And you still didn't make your point. Call me when you can. I wish you peace and love in the holidays. I'm going to not do this because I'm moving. Hopefully I will be back in a week and a half or so. A blessed Christmas season to all out there, and Jesus is still Lord.